Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Absolute Territory Cast, aka the ATCast, which today stands for AT Field Podcast, because today we're talking about Evangelion.
I mean, I don't think we can do a podcast like this and not talk about Eva first.
You're not wrong. So this podcast is going to be a general discussion about animus and mangoes and games and all that wonderful
all
jazz.
All those what have yous.
Yeah.
All those what have yous.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so who are you? Who am I talking to right now?
Oh my god, who are you talking to?
Who am I?
So my name is Swan, also known as Renu online, and I'm joined by the lovely, lovely, bodacious... Who are you?
I'm Soup. I go to school and read lots of books, and I pay a lot of money so that I can learn how to read books good, and then I go home and I misuse all of those skills to watch anime.
You could have been a Japanese major.
Why would I do that?
You could have been.
That would be the equivalent of financially putting on like one of those diva headsets and a shirt that just says "Hey gamers," and then going out into public and being very loud and obnoxious about the fact that I play video games.
I game? Do you game?
Yes, I've played a video game before.
There you go. You're a Japanese major. Easy.
I don't know exactly if that's how it works, but I'll take your word for it.
All right, buddy. Okay, so we are going to talk about Eva, like we said. So just to start us off, we'll introduce what Eva is. Man, what a phenomenon. For anyone,
Ava's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. It's a lot to unpackage, as we attempted to do.
It's Hideaki Anno's Wild Ride.
It is. It is like a coming of age story, but just effed. Just F that, all of that. Just
Shinji jacks it to an unconscious girl's body. It just happens.
It does happen. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. I'm sure you guys have seen the scene. It's a mecha anime, but only like kind of like it lures you in with the mecha. That's what it does.
Angels are bad.
They are bad. And it's kind of like if Oedipus was an anime.
Freud was right. Yeah, but actually it is basically the anime that probably has had the most impact on anime ever.
That's true.
Which is, I mean, that's also part of why we have to talk about it, because it's like such a foundational, and I'm going to use the word text here, such a foundational text in like the discussion of, I know, I read so many books.
This is where your degree is going.
This is legitimately what I'm using my degree for. I don't have it yet, but one day. No, but it is like a foundational text, and there's like a very clear line, I think, before and after Eva.
Oh, absolutely.
It's sort of like its own first impact.
Oh, that's an Eva reference.
That's a joke about Eva.
Oh.
So obviously this show is really old, and we're going to spoil it a bunch if you've never seen it. But if you've heard of it and you don't know what it is, it's basically like a kind of mecha. There are robots in it, sort of. It's also a coming of age story, like we said, kind of.
Yes.
Because it's about a bunch of 14-year-olds and how the world ended, and now it's up to 14-year-olds to save the world. And understandably, that goes horribly, horribly wrong in so many different ways.
Because, relying on 14-year-olds is the way of Japan.
I mean, listen, Japan's entire defense system is built upon, like, remarkable children.
Yeah.
So, is it any surprise that that was, like, the first place that Anno went?
You know what? He's just reflecting the true nature of this country.
It's just what it's like. It's like 14-year-olds everywhere.
Exactly.
Which is quite funny, because that's actually the exact opposite of what Japan is. It's just old people and, like, tiny babies.
And they're like, we need to make more babies. There's too many old people.
Please, we're running out of babies.
Everyone, please get together and have children.
Listen, it's not going to be long until we can make like human soup and then churn it out into babies. That's what Ava's about, right?
That is literally a part of Ava, by the way.
So yeah, let's talk about how you got introduced to Ava, which, I mean, really I think is kind of everybody who has ever seen a single anime knows what Ava is.
Yes, they've at the very least heard of Ava. Even the newcomers these days, the youngins, have probably heard of Ava.
Those young children.
Yeah.
I have a confession to make, actually.
What's up?
I had never actually fully seen Ava until 2016, September of 2016.
You know what? That's okay. So when I first, I guess, came across Ava, I was might be in middle school. I might have been around Shinji's age. However, I hated Ava because I didn't understand it at all. I think it was like I was watching like Adult Swim or something, wherever they premiered it, like on Cartoon Network, and I think I jumped in on one of the last episodes, and I got really upset because the episode that I watched made sense, even though it was very dramatic, and then the next 2 episodes were the ending. And if anyone knows Ava, the anime, it has a very interesting ending that, you know, it's just like a slideshow of sketches and such because they ran out of budget. So I was very upset with it. Didn't revisit it until basically university. I saw some dope fan art on Tumblr of it, and I was just like, you know what, let's give it another chance, like on a whim. And then I watched it all the way through, and then I finally understood what it was about. And I could actually identify with the feelings going on in these characters' minds because I was older and I could understand, and I had been through stuff as well, unlike 14-year-old me who had been through nothing.
See, ironically, Ava's a really good character study of a bunch of 14-year-olds, but 14-year-olds just don't get it.
Exactly. Like, they're...
Which is hysterical and also, I think, the point.
I know, and like so many people that I talk to who don't like Ava, they're like, yeah, I didn't get it. And I'm like, yeah, no, I understand. I didn't get it either. And they're like, yeah, I thought it was an anime about robots, and then it wasn't. And I was like, yeah, I get it. That's how I was, too.
I mean, the thing is, I knew what Ava was and how, like, fucked up it was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually part of the reason that I never watched it when I was younger, in my, like, younger anime years, back once upon a time.
Right.
Because I just, like, I don't know, dude. I was not ready for depressing shit like Ava when I was, like, 15.
Right, exactly. Me neither. And it wasn't until, like, I got into university, I was just like, oh, I understand what depression is like. and
oh,
such.
This is depression. Depression is when your dad hates you and you want to fuck your mom, and also all of your friends keep turning into people soup.
Yeah, you know. Turn into that sweet red soup.
Yeah.
So to actually put into words what happens in the anime, for anyone who's listening and is still like, I have no idea what's going on. Ava starts off with our sweet boy Shinji. He just arrives in this new city. He apparently receives some kind of communications from his estranged father, whom he hasn't spoken with in probably, I would say at least a decade, because he was, shortly after his mother's death, when he was a young child, he got dropped off by his father at his, like, I guess like a teacher's house, and that teacher has been raising Shinji ever since. And the way that Shinji describes it, he doesn't really go into much detail, aside from the fact that he said that nothing ever really happened. It was a very peaceful but boring, like, situation. And so you kind of get the sense that Shinji's been sheltered, I guess, up until this point. So he arrives at the city, and it's under evacuation orders because this giant creature called what they call an angel is attacking the city. And this woman named Misato, who's been sent by Shinji's father, comes to collect him in a sort of like "come with me if you want to live" style. Except she's very happy about it because she's a very happy person.
I love Misato.
She's pretty great.
She's such a mood.
Her existence is a mood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's kind of like, I almost want to say like a big sisterly figure to Shinji pretty quickly on, because you find out that she's basically in charge of him. She's like kind of responsible for Shinji while he's living in the city. And when they arrive at her workplace, Shinji finds out that Gendo runs this organization called Nerve, and Gendo is Shinji's father, by the way. And this organization is built to combat the angels. And you learn later on in the series that the reason that they're responsible for this is because underneath Nerve is something that the angels want. And that's why they continuously come after Nerve to get to it. And if they reach this thing that is underneath Nerve, it will cause what's called an impact, which is basically like an apocalypse for humanity. And up till this point, there have been 2 impacts in the world, in Shinji's, the world of Evangelion. And the second one, which is the most recent one, wiped out half of humanity. And so that's why they formed this organization to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so in the first episode, after Shinji arrives at Nerve, he is basically told by Gendo to, as the meme says, get in the robot. And the robot is this giant purple, green, orange mecha that is just waiting for him. And the angel is attacking. And so Shinji is thrust into the situation of he either needs to do what his father is telling him to do right now, or the city gets destroyed by this angel. At that point, he meets this girl called Rei, and you learn that she has been a mecha pilot for Nerve until Shinji's arrival. And whatever her last bout involved, it resulted in her being drastically injured. Like, she is messed up, just covered in bandages. She can barely walk. And of course, Shinji, when he sees her, he's like, what on earth happened? And he's not ready to get into this mecha all of a sudden and pilot it because he has no idea what's going on. He just arrived. And Rei is just like, Rei pretty quickly assessed that he wasn't ready for this, and so she's like, okay, I'll do it. I'll get into the Eva and fight the angel. And considering she is just like hobbling, Shinji decides he can't make an injured girl go out there, so he decides to get into the robot. And they throw him out there with the angel. With, I forget how much time he actually has. I want to say it's like maybe like 2 minutes to operate the Eva before it shuts down or something. And he fights the angel unsuccessfully because he has no idea how to operate it. And the angel starts beating the crap out of him. And the Eva runs out of power. It shuts down. He's trapped inside. And when the angel is about to basically rip him apart, the Eva comes back alive again, only it takes on this like really monstrous, like organic, I don't know, icky appearance or whatever. Beats the crap out of the angel, like shreds it apart like a wild animal, and then leaves it dead. Shinji gets recovered from the mecha and everything, and yeah.
It just sort of proves the idea that if you give something teeth, it's automatically distressing.
Oh yeah, no, the if you see the mecha like as it is, it just looks like a robot, right? But then during this episode, the plating on its jaw just like pops off, and then you see like the teeth stretching from its jowls, and you realize that this thing isn't just like a mechanical robot, it's alive. Like, there's something in there that's organic. And yeah, that's how the first episode basically goes. And Shinji starts living with Misato, the lady who picked him up, because Gendo, his father, doesn't want anything to do with him. He just wants Shinji there to be able to pilot the Eva. And you find out that Shinji is the only one who can pilot that Eva. And, yep.
There you go. That is all you need to know about the first episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion, Hideaki Anno's Wild Ride.
Yeah, exactly. And the series progresses from there on Shinji's, I guess, debates and battles on whether or not it's right to get into the robot.
I mean, he does sort of waffle a lot, which is understandable because he's 14.
Yeah, he's 14.
And also his father hates him.
His father is the worst. It's so obvious how much he just wants to use Shinji. He doesn't want any kind of emotional connection with him, right? Like, despite the fact that they share a family member,
Gendo Ikari is up there on like the worst dads of all time list, and it's not even exclusive to just anime. It's just like there's like worst dads list, like Forbes worst dad list of the year, and every year it's just Gendo Ikari. It's like, we know that he's not like alive like anymore or was ever because he's an anime character, but he deserves this spot.
He wins.
He does.
Every time.
He always wins.
Yeah.
That's how Eva starts, and it ends in a fucking, like, I mean, I feel like we get kind of glimpses of the ways in the directions that it's gonna move in, but like, God, the end of the series is just so much.
Yeah, it's a lot, which we'll touch on that in, I guess, like a bit. But we'll announce like the spoiler section of this podcast so that anyone who actually wants to go out and watch Eva, if you haven't already, then you can do that.
That's a lie. This is the spoiler line.
I'm
calling
whoa.
it right here. There's nothing but spoilers from this point on.
Basically.
If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Yes, please. It's an icon for a reason, and I would recommend some patience and maybe a drink or two. Just maybe some friends as well, so you guys can
get some friends and watch it all together. That's what I did. That's what I did.
It's an enjoyable experience to make fun of it and also like ask your friends questions like what just happened.
Yeah. I watched it with the squad because, anime night. Obviously we have to touch on Evangelion.
Oh yeah.
I want to talk about all the characters.
Okay.
All of them.
Okay.
That was a joke. You can't talk about them. There's so many of them.
There's so many.
But I want to talk specifically about Asuka. Mostly because
yes.
I had a discussion earlier today actually about Asuka.
Mm-hmm.
And what's really interesting to me about Asuka is that she is like, she has come to sort of represent the idea of a tsundere, which I think is really interesting because that's exactly like the opposite of the point. And I think this is it's hard. I'm looking for words to express how I feel about this, because I feel like a lot of Evangelion gets sort of flattened in the same way that a lot of characterization can get flattened when it becomes like a popular piece of media.
Yes, I agree.
Because everything about all the characters is so complicated.
Yes.
And it's very interesting to me that Asuka and Rei, who are both essentially supposed to be deconstructions and subversions of the character archetypes that they've come to basically like represent. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting. I mean, I guess I want to say that it's because it happens with any older iconic series like this, where it's like you want to give the series to someone else in a bite-sized format, right? Like you want to be able to just say, oh, this person is this type of character, this person is that type of character. And so for Shinji, the stereotype for him is that he's just a whiny baby who doesn't want to do anything and wants to run away all the time. But then you get into the series and then you see, oh, he's actually like handling this fairly well for a 14-year-old kid, and he's just trying to muddle his way through this really crazy situation that no one has ever, been through. And then his contrast basically is Asuka, who willingly threw herself into this. And she's like that confident redhead chick who and wants to show everyone up, is very prideful, and then you learn the reasons why she's like that. And why she tries so hard. And so everyone has like a multi-layered, persona that people just try to like squash together so that they can very easily, tell someone, oh, she's the tsundere, or Rei's the kudere, or whatever, right?
Well, see, that's interesting to me though, because I feel like it's almost on a layer like beyond that even, because it's more so than even like a hyper flattening. It's like a misrepresentation of these characters.
Yes,
because,
yes. Mm-hmm.
Like, the idea is, and this is what I think is probably the most interesting. In the case of Rei, like, Anno made Rei specifically to be kind of off-putting and unsettling as a character.
Yes.
And people just fucking loved it. Mm-hmm. And like, that's really interesting to me, because he's essentially, like, here's a character who is basically a doll. Isn't that creepy, everybody? And everybody was like, that's so hot, though.
Yeah, I agree. Like, she was kind of like that deconstruction of the main heroine, right? Who's like got that chipper, happy personality. She's super fan servicey, whatever. Is super into the main character always. She's just the exact opposite of all of that. And somehow people still latched onto her like their main waifu.
I don't get the waifuing of like any of the characters in Eva, unless it's Misato, because Misato is the best.
Yeah.
Because like they're just so purposely meant to be kind of like off-putting emotional 14-year-olds.
Right.
And like Rei is like this sort of foil where she's the exact opposite, where she's completely not emotional at all.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's supposed to be kind of unsettling, but
yes.
people were like, but that's like real good. And it's like, well, okay, maybe anime was a mistake. Which which at this point I'm fairly certain has come out of Anno's mouth just word for word like that.
Oh yeah. He's definitely on the Miyazaki train of this entire like everything was a mistake, right? Like, and that's the whole reason, or I don't want to say that's the whole reason, but that's definitely a large reason why he made Eva the way it was, is that everything about Eva is a foil to your average mecha anime, and I think that's why a lot of people ended up being put off by it, because they expected your typical mecha anime.
Well, what's really interesting about Eva is that it subverts popular archetypes.
Yes.
That existed, certainly, but ironically were basically like boosted through the series. I feel like after Eva, we just see this explosion of characters that are tsundere and kudere. And I mean, like, I don't hate a kudere character, but it's very interesting to me that that's the takeaway that we got from it. Like, that's what's popular about this series.
Right. Yeah.
It also, as an aside, it also just really makes me laugh when there's, like the commercial uses of the Eva characters. Like the UCC coffees, but they have, like, Eva characters on them. I love that.
I love the merch of Eva characters. It's so good. You see Shinji all hot, bright and happy and fashionable. It's like, that's not my boy.
My boy is sad and depressed all the time.
He is. He tries to be happy, and the world doesn't let him, basically.
God, speaking of mistakes, did you know that there was an Eva bar? Like, you know how like a lot of anime in Japan have like pop-up bars where like a bar will like remodel and like they'll be like character themed and like anime themed. I read an article about somebody who went to one and they ordered the I'm the Worst drink. And
God.
they said that the color and the texture were distressingly similar. Or maybe it was like distressingly accurate.
I might have seen a post or two about this. Oh, that's good.
I mean, I think that's the kind of thing that we should like see more of with Ava stuff. Like I want that fucked up shit. I want it in there.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
And I mean, like going off of that though, I actually really like the Rebuild movies as as kind of like a reimagining or maybe even like another timeline. And I'm gonna say that a lot of the reason why I like the movies is because of the introduction of Mari, because I think she's a really interesting foil to both Shinji and Asuka.
I agree. Yes, she is like really, really different from all of the characters. I feel like, and I feel like that's super purposeful. And I'm really interested in seeing where she goes because they show her briefly in the manga, like towards the end, and her relation to Shinji's mother. And so it's like, what's happening? What's between them? How are they related?
God, I've never read the manga. But I think it's so interesting how like each of them is kind of their own thing.
Yes.
I can't speak to the manga itself, but
sure,
because I haven't seen it. But I will say that I think that Anno uses the medium that he's given in a really interesting way. I think there's a lot of stuff in Ava that wasn't seen before, and is replicated afterwards. Especially in regards to both character depth, certainly. Not to say that there weren't, deep characters before, but more importantly, I think Ava provides sort of like, it's almost like a wake-up call to the Japanese like consciousness of this idea of the meta text. Just the very fact that all of the characters in Ava are put there for very specific reasons, and they're all meant to subvert some kind of popular belief or a character archetype,
Right.
Shinji is like the opposite of everything that your traditional anime protagonist is because he's 14. Like,
right.
In doing that, they present a realistically rendered 14-year-old, and people hated that because it turns out 14-year-olds suck.
Yeah, and I think that part is interesting too because they really enjoy unrealistic 14-year-olds, right? We only need to look as far as Black Clover. I'm just saying, like,
God, don't stop. Oh, I don't want to think about it.
I'll take a Shinji over that any day. No hate to Black Clover fans, but
God, I'm imagining the screaming right now, and it's terrible. You've inflicted this plague upon me, like some kind of Moses figure. This is the worst. Gosh, yeah. I do think what's really interesting about Ava is that it's so like esoteric in the way that it explores like these sort of Freudian psychological ideas,
yes,
and ideas about like identity, which I think is really interesting because it's obviously a coming of age story for all of the characters involved because they're all like really young,
right?
But it dabbles so much more in the psychological formation of identity.
Yes.
And I think that's so interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really great that they chose to focus on the motivations of individuality, which if you end up watching until like the end of the movies and stuff like that and know the ending of the manga, the anime, the manga too, they talk about this project called the Human Instrumentality Project, which basically circles around the idea of everyone's individual consciousnesses being coming together as one entity, right? No one has to think for themselves because you have this one giant hive mind that controls everything. And it basically toys with the idea of, well, being your own individual and finding your own place in the world is really, really difficult. So why bother? Just become one with us. And the way that both Shinji, Asuka, and Rei all struggle with that idea is so interesting because they go about it in very different ways. right? Like Shinji's struggling against his father, who is basically pro instrumentality, and Shinji has this what's called the hedgehog's dilemma, where he's afraid of getting close to anyone because he believes that he'll end up hurting them. And for Asuka, she, when you find out the reason why she behaves the way that she does, and is so prideful in her work as a pilot, and has all of that subverted by Shinji, she basically loses all will and reason to live because it gets taken from her, because she believes that the only reason that she's around here is to save everyone and be the amazing Eva pilot that she is. And so when Shinji basically, with his natural talent, comes around and takes that away from her, she doesn't know what she's there for. And basically kind of takes things into her own hands and decides that she doesn't want to be an individual anymore. And then for Rei, she was never really her own individual, at least in her own mindset. And she kind of starts to develop an identity through her interactions with the entire Eva cast. And I think it's so great the way that the story approaches this topic from all these different angles through different characters.
Yeah, I really like the ideas that the show has about the ways in which we communicate with each other, because that's like very in line with my sort of academic field of study.
Right.
I'm really interested in the ways in which we communicate with each other, and the ways in which that informs identity, which I think is very interesting in Eva, because it's this idea that you may be an individual, but you can't exist without other people. That really your identity is, in a lot of ways, a reflection of the way that people around you perceive you.
Right.
And the ways in which that's like difficult to handle for a 14-year-old is, I think, handled really well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's identifiable for adults too. Like, a lot of adults still struggle with that stuff and trying to find their quote unquote purpose in life, right? And yeah.
Listen, everything is meaningless and everything's made up. That's all I'm saying.
Nihilism.
That's all I'm saying. There's your daily dose of nihilism. But I mean, like, yeah, there is a very nihilistic tone to the actual show.
Yes.
Which is definitely on purpose.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think it's interesting that it does end on kind of a hopeful note, almost. It's hopeful in the only way that Anno knows how to be helpful. Which is like, well, okay, yeah, everything sucks and is terrible, but maybe it's not that terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it basically ends with Shinji. He decides to not get sucked up into this mass hive mind, and decides that he wants to try continuing to live with everyone, even if it's a struggle, right? He wants everyone to be their own individual, including himself, and to learn how to live and find his place in the world. And then that's when everyone surrounds him and says congratulations. Because that's a really big landmark achievement. It is. It's an omerito-worthy decision. Because I think it very symbolically plays into the idea of, oh, it would be so much easier if you gave up, if you just gave in to what everyone around you is saying and just assimilate, right? Just become the same as everyone else. And you gotta find your own place in society, man, and find your own identity, even if it's scary and difficult.
Yeah. There's a thing about Eva, which is this idea that there's always going to be misunderstanding because language isn't perfect, and there's always something sort of lost in translation. It's this idea of, entropy. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yes.
And that's really interesting to me too, because the Human Instrumentality Project is supposed to fix that.
Yes.
But there are also problems that come with that we obviously like. And I think what's really interesting about Evangelion is this sort of like uniquely Japanese culture that it comes from. which is, very different from American or other Western countries. It's very collectivist.
Yes, I
so
agree.
so I think the struggles with identity kind of resonate with us, but they resonate much more strongly with an audience. And I think this is part of the reason it's so successful. It resonates so strongly with an audience where it feels like you are being assimilated, and it feels like, you might not have your own personality, and that it would just be easier if you just didn't.
Yeah. And the way that they show that in the anime, at least, is they show how ostracized Shinji is as the new kid in the school, right? Like, his first day at school, he gets socked in the face for nothing that he himself did per se, but just because he's a pilot in an Ava, and some of the people at school hate the Avas because they cause collateral damage and hurt other people, right?
Yeah.
And they continue showing that his isolation in the rest of the series, and how difficult it is to maintain your identity even in this like apocalyptic dystopic Japanese society.
Yeah, I really like the ways in which it also deconstructs mecha. Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, they're the really obvious, like, surface level, like, well, okay, they're not really mechas, they're actually just flesh boys. They're just flesh boys in armor.
Yes.
I mean, it's a pretty, like, stellar moment when it's like, oh, that armor isn't to protect the flesh boys, it's to restrain them. You're like, oh, shit!
It's like, oh!
Oh my god!
And then you learn what's in those flesh boys, those flesh bods.
It's flesh.
It's flesh.
It's flesh.
And the souls of certain people who are not present in the series, aka major spoiler. The reason why Shinji is the only one who can pilot the Ava Unit number 1 is because that's his mom's soul in that Ava.
That
Asuka
feeling
can
that
only
flesh
pilot
boy
number
is
2.
your mom.
Yep. Asuka's mom is in number 2. I believe Lilith, a piece of Lilith is in number 0. Yep. And man. I feel like there's probably commentary there too about Freud and such.
There's one. Well, I mean, so here's the thing about this, the like psycho-social like imagery in Ava. Obviously, Anno has come out and said like, well, if I knew this series was gonna be this fucking popular, I wouldn't have put all these crosses in it. Because he was just like, I thought they looked cool, which I honestly like.
Right.
I don't care if that's false or not. I really love it. It basically treats Christianity the same way that people here treat like the Far East. It's like, oh, I've been on this Buddha diet lately. It's basically that, but in anime. It's just like, yeah,
Exactly.
I guess we'll just put crosses and shit. Your name's Adam. Okay, well, good. That's fine.
Right. Like, he puts Adam and Lilith, and all the angels die with a cross-shaped beam of light, and then Adam is pegged onto a cross-shaped, it's a crucifix, basically. And then Misato has her cross-shaped necklace. Like, there's a lot of Christian symbology, and
it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's basically what they came out with. It was because they thought it looked cool.
Yep. Yep. But yeah, I mean, I do think that the psychosocial like imagery, the like Freudian sort of Lacanian stuff, is it's hard to say, sometimes, but I do think it's because it has to do with the, return to this idea of like it's a coming of age story, right? There's like the Freudian sort of Oedipal desire to enter your mother. It's just a thing.
Yes.
You get into the phallic object, you get inserted into your mother. It's a lot of it. Listen, it's a lot. Ray's fucking robot gets pregnant with an angel and explodes. She dies and explodes.
Yep. And then Asuka's mecha, her unit gets eaten.
You know what?
Shinji's gets a phallic thing stuck into it.
You want to know what my theory is? My theory is that Neon Genesis Evangelion, Hideaki Anno's Wild Ride, is directly responsible for an entire generation of people's weird internet kinks. There's people being eaten. There's that one episode where Asuka's suit gets inflated. There's all the weird pregnancy stuff. Listen, I'm just saying. I think it's like Evangelion and Alien, and it's just like this entire generation of really weird internet art.
I mean, it's not even really a generation at this point. It's just like since the internet was conceived.
Please don't say the word conceived. I hate it.
You don't like my appropriate terminology.
No, I'm fucking distressed. But yeah. I'll say that Eva has definitely had, I think, probably the most impact on anime since like Disney.
Disney.
Because that's where Tezuka got his stuff. That's all Disney stuff.
I didn't know that.
Oh, did you not? Okay, so
No.
basically a lot of Tezuka's like Osamu Tezuka's like influence comes from Disney cartoons. And the
that
reason
makes sense.
Yeah, the reason that Astro Boy looks like that is because Tezuka was really into like Bambi and the really big like cartoonish eyes. So he was like, I'm going to do that but on a boy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, he was also a big furry, but whatever.
Oh, you know.
It just happens. Listen, can you imagine if you died and you were like the god of manga, and then somebody looked through your like posthumous drawings and they were just like pictures of sexy mouse ladies? Because that's what happened with him, by the way.
You guys, prepare for your death. Burn all your porn.
Please, just burn all of it before you go. Just do the world a favor.
Delete your history. Just delete your laptop from existence. Just prepare.
Can you believe that the god of manga was a furry? I mean, I can believe that, really.
I strongly believe it.
It's true. It is quite interesting that Disney is basically the reason that anime exists as it does. Because people in the West look at anime now and just like, what is that? Japanese animations? Question mark.
Whoa.
But yeah, I'm gonna say that like Eva, I think, had probably one of the biggest impacts. There's an undeniable, like, whether you like it or not, there's an undeniable amount of influence that it has, certainly.
Oh, absolutely.
Not even in like sort of just the, well, this is how you do popular character archetypes ways, in as much as like this is how you make complicated, like, fleshed out characters. And the way that it uses the like weird sort of filtered screen real life pictures is really interesting. And it's, I think, the reason that shows like Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei and the Tatami Galaxy exist. It's probably because of Eva. I think that the Tatami Galaxy especially has a lot of the like weird Eva influence on it, but that's a discussion for another time. I love that anime.
Okay, I've never actually watched Tatami Galaxy, so
I'm gonna make you watch it. Don't worry.
Okay, we'll have that talk another time then.
we'll do that at some point.
Okay.
It was just on the mind because I was thinking about it recently, but even things that come out like nowadays, like Recreators is like very heavily Eva influenced.
Yeah, I mean, people compare Madoka to Eva all the time because they're both deconstructions of their genres, right?
Absolutely. They're both like really dark deconstructions. They both feature very well fleshed out characters, and I think what's really interesting about Madoka is that through the like time traveling thing that Homura does, it actually allows us to get a 3D rendering of a character, just in the fact that we get to see their interactions over and over again, in different situations. So that's one of the reasons I really like the Tatami Galaxy. Spoilers, after the first episode, they rewind time and then start again.
Oh!
And so essentially throughout the series, you're building up these portraits in your mind and in the main character's mind of these characters that he comes into contact with, these like people. And he gets these really cool, like, different facets of their personalities, which is so good. But this, I mean, we're not talking about the Tatame Galaxy, so I'm gonna put a lid on that one. I love that series. It's one of my favorite anime of all time.
Okay.
But whatever, I'm gonna put a lid on that for now. Yeah, is that all? Is that all we have for Ava?
I think so. What type of anime watcher would you describe, or would you recommend this series to? Like, if there was just someone out there, what kind of audience would you recommend this series to?
I would recommend Ava to pretty much everybody, but I would describe it differently every time. So, I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, I would say that Ava is essentially unskippable if you're interested in tracking the influence of certain anime, or like the trend of anime as an industry or as a culture. You have to watch Ava. Like, there's just no getting around it. I mean, that would be like not watching Akira. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, Akira.
I would also recommend it to people that are interested in like shows that are a little bit darker, but are full of very compelling and very well fleshed out characters.
Yes.
If you're sick and tired of mech shows, watch it. If you're really into HR Giger, just watch it. Like, you might find something you like. There's a lot of phallic image. It happens.
There's phallics.
If you like anime, watch it. I mean,
yeah,
I'd be hard pressed to find a demographic I wouldn't recommend this to, except for actual 14-year-olds.
If you're 14 and below, don't watch.
Yep, no 14-year-olds allowed. You'll accidentally get into vor.
Oh yeah,
All right, well, I'll turn the question back on you.
Okay. I would recommend this to anyone who likes anime that likes to make them think, right? Like, I know a lot of people who, when they watch an anime, they want to shut their brains off, and that's why they get turned off by psychological series like this. So if you're into something that has very cool imagery, has a very compelling storyline, and also makes you question life in general, because there's some existential crises in this series quite often.
Just all the time.
Definitely check it out.
That's all it is. It's just existential crises. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this has been awesome. Let's figure out what's happening right now in the world of anime that we could talk about to leave off the podcast with.
Okay. So I'm sure that we're going to do like an in-depth look into all of the things that we watched, but fall 2017, that core is ending. We're about to go into winter.
Yes. Dude, we're definitely going to have a introduction to the winter 2018 anime podcast.
Oh my god, there's going to be so many. We have our work cut out for us. But yeah, I mean, we can talk about what we've been watching.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, we've been watching Gintama. There's one episode left. That's
Dude.
I can't describe enough how much I love Gintama, but I think that's another episode, actually.
That will be another episode for anyone. Dude, Gintama is just like one of those series where not a lot of people, I would say, are into it, but the ones who are into it are like, they're ride or die.
God, Gintama is 100% the most ride or die series on the planet, I think. The sort of hurdle you have to get over to get into it is very high, but after it's just smooth sailing. I love it so much.
Yeah, I agree.
We are watching, or actually about to finish, because at some point the last episode will come out, of Kino no Tabi, the remake.
My favorite anime of all time.
It was really good.
Yes, it's so good. The original series came out like 14 years ago, I want to say.
Yeah, we'll have to watch it because I haven't seen the original, but...
You haven't seen the original? Okay.
Yeah, but the current season, very good, I will say. The stories still really hold up.
Yes.
Because it's very well set up to be like an anthology sort of.
Yeah, and it's not, you don't have to have watched the original series to enjoy it because it's episodic. Like each episode is its own story.
Also it's like a remake, so they just tread over the same ground anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
like 2 of the episodes are the same thing, but prettier.
I think that it suffers a little bit from like unfortunate CG use sometimes. But
it hurts me.
But otherwise it's really good. I would give it a watch. Kino is my big favorite.
Kino's a good protagonist for sure.
I haven't been watching it because I'm waiting for somebody, but Mahotsukai no Yome, the Ancient Magus Bride, is beautiful.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm so excited to watch it when it finishes.
I would definitely watch it. It's beautiful. I follow the manga. It's gorgeous. It has, I think, some of the best sort of like storybook imagery, I would say. There were some the visual effects for that one manga anime about the witch. I don't remember the name of. Had really good visual effects. This is like on par with that at least.
Like Little Witch Academia?
No, it's not Little Witch Academia. It's about Witchcraft Works. That's it. That's the.
Oh, okay.
Witchcraft Works. Some of it can be kind of, but the visual spectacle is beautiful. Even in the manga, it's like gorgeously rendered. But that's neither here nor there. We finished Mahojin Guru Guru, which was coming from last score, and God, if you're not watching that anime, you have to be. There's no reason not to be. It's adorable. It's beautiful. It touched me in all of the feeling places.
Like, it's definitely a kid's anime, but parents will enjoy it too type of thing. Or even all the ages in between and older and younger. It's such a good, wholesome anime.
There is nothing bad I can say about that anime. I love it a lot. It's very cute. And also actually really funny. So.
Yes, and it's also a remake of a much older.
Yeah, that's from like the 90s.
Series. Yes. I grew up with the original, and
gosh,
was so excited
you're so
to see it remade.
old. You're so old.
Don't say that. They'll find out how old I am.
It's okay. You're not that old. You're not that old.
Well, you're a baby, so you don't get to call me old.
All right. Well, you're not wrong. So I know you haven't been watching because we stopped watching after the first episode. But I have. I've been binging Netju no Susume.
Dude, I started catching up on
it. Oh my god, it's so cute.
Like 3 or 4.
It's so cute.
It's really cute.
I think this is an example of an anime where the first episode is kind of shaky, but the others are really good. It has a lot of heart. It has a lot of heart to it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's also really cute seeing a 30-year-old woman fall in love. Let's be real.
I
love her.
It's just like they comment about her being old and stuff, and then she's just, she just lives her life, and you want to watch her live her life because 30-year-olds can fall in love too, Japan.
Also, I love that she's just like, I have maybe these feelings for this online person I believe to be a girl. Gay icon.
Yes.
What a gay icon. I'm just saying. We watched a bunch of other stuff, but we ended up dropping it. I really do want to catch up on Hoseki no Kuni, because it's way prettier than the PV let on, so we kind of missed it.
Yes.
Which is really sad, because it's actually really pretty.
It is pretty.
Like, for a CG show, I think it's probably one of the most, like, visually astounding, consistently shows. It's, like, very impressive. Mm-hmm. So I definitely want to catch up to that. I hear it's sad. I hear there's sad feels.
Don't say that. No, I don't want to be.
It's fine.
No.
We obviously dropped Black Clover. Because
if you didn't realize, we might have dropped it after the first episode.
I just couldn't handle it.
That's too much of a hurdle. That was a hurdle. That was just a wall.
We also dropped Juni Taisen. Despite the fact that I think is actually not bad for what it is. I just hate that bunny guy so much. He just stresses me.
You don't like Tokyo Ghoul Bunny, man?
Every time I look at that character, I can feel my inside shriveling.
I do give a small scream every time he pops on screen because I'm distressed.
Just a small like. "Arr!"
Yeah, exactly. It's some kind of like why type of scream.
We got a couple episodes into Kujira no Kora, which I really wanted to watch because Mud Whales, but we just kind of lost track of. I do want to go back and watch some of it again, or at the very least, like try to catch up.
Yeah, I'm vaguely interested in where the story is going because they keep presenting more and more mysteries.
Yeah, I want to know what's. I want to know what's up. Whatever.
Yeah.
We dropped Urahara because it was mundane. Not even in a. I don't know. I can't. It wasn't even mundane. It was just boring. I don't know. I felt like I was watching.
It was very aesthetically pleasing, but
very pretty. Very pretty.
Yeah.
But it felt like I was watching a show aimed at 5-year-olds.
it felt like I was watching, like, someone tried to conceive like an artist's portfolio and put it and just make it into a story somehow. Like the imagery was there way before the story was, kind of thing.
Yeah, and then the story is just very not interesting. The characters aren't that great. I would say if you really liked what it looks like, just watch like Paprika or Summer Wars or the first Digimon movie, which is just Summer Wars again.
No, it's not. It has Digimon in it.
Listen. It's the same movie. Some of those shots are literally the same shot. But it's okay because it's a movie so good that they made it twice. And I mean, there was other stuff we watched. King's Game was just It was like it was like Battle Royale, except the king is a horny boy. All he wanted to do was watch people fuck.
The king is a voyeur.
He just wanted to watch people fuck.
I mean, it's a popular manga, but yeah, I wasn't too sold on it.
It was just too edge boy nonsense, but also the king was like a big horny boy. Yeah, and then the other two shows that we picked up but never finished, Shoujo Shumatsu Ryoko. I'm also interested in watching the rest of that because I think it is good. I think it just suffers from being in the same core as Kino because they're very similar types of shows.
Yeah.
But with kind of opposite premises. I do want to go back and watch it because I think it's aesthetically very my thing. I really like the sort of weird post-apocalypse, but like the peaceful post-apocalypse. I'm really into that.
Yeah, I think having it with Kino was a bad idea. And also if it was with Made in Abyss, that would have also been a bad idea.
Yeah, God, Made in Abyss was good, if a little bit distressing.
Only like a lot distressing.
It was a lot of it distressing. But yeah, we can talk more about that. Garo Vanishing Line. We also watched an episode of that. There was a titty demon, and he punched it a lot, and then he henshined, which was weird. Like that was honestly, I don't know what I was expecting from this anime, but really that was not it. It was just so weird we had to drop it. We just didn't have time.
I kind of wanna pick it back up again, if only because it's very aesthetically great.
Listen, we can go back and do a dive into it, and see all of the weird CG transformations.
I want to see him transform.
But yeah. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Anything else on
Did we mention Shokugeki?
Shokugeki was good.
Yes.
Well, I liked it better than I think you did.
Season. Well, it's the third season. It was fine. I just, I did my usual like ranting at the end of it because I didn't appreciate the season finale very much.
I do think that the season finale episode was like, I think they cut it at a weird place because I really, I mean, I guess it's fine where they cut it because they wanted to cut it at that specific revelation.
Yeah,
but
it's just,
I'd have much preferred it if they kept, if they had cut it after the high of Best Boy Ryo Kurakiba's battle, because God, he's my best.
I think
boy.
They wanted it to be on a cliffhanger.
I think so too. It also sets them up really nicely to just immediately dive into the next couple of arcs, which
Okay.
come one after another. So
Okay.
yeah, like it's hard to separate them from each other. So I think that's probably why they cut it here.
All right.
I'm looking forward to that because I actually think it's good. I think that Shokugeki, for being a cooking show, ramps up the stakes in a really like good way, which doesn't necessarily have to talk about like, you know, Yukihira getting expelled, because he's almost always getting expelled. But the Nakiri family drama, I think, is actually I like it. Because I think it sets.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I know you don't, but I think it sets up the
No,
tension
I mean,
really well.
I believe you that it will get better, kind of thing. So I mean, I'm definitely gonna watch the next season whenever that comes out. So
Yeah. I'm really excited about this because I was streaming a little bit of Valkyria Chronicles. Valkyria Chronicles 4 is coming out.
ooh,
I'm so very excited for it. It's coming out for the Switch
I've not played any of them, so
and other, you know, other platforms, but the Switch is the one that I own, so I'm really excited for that.
Nice.
I've been playing through 1. It's real good. Real good.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think I own it. I just haven't played it yet.
Oh, definitely play it. And I think that's probably it. Renu, where can we find you on the internet?
Oh my god. I have like everything now because I do art and stuff. But I'm on Twitter and Twitch and Tumblr and even freaking Pinterest. All at Swandron. SWANDRAWN. I even have an Instagram. It's swan.drawn.
Amazing.
I put all my art stuff there. Yeah, I know. It's great. And if you want to find out where I post all my weeb stuff that's not art related / kind of is, I have a second personal Twitter account called at Renunu Party. RENUNUPARTY. What else is going on? I've been streaming Yakuza 0 on my Twitch. If you want to hear me rant and rave at being a Japanese gangster, come by. / get my boy catfished. Also a very important priority.
Also, you jingle jangle shoes.
I have jingle jangle shoes. We're almost at the finale. We're just at the minigame grinding part of it. So there's that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. What about you, Sue? Where can we find you?
You can find me at all of the places at Literal Soup. That is LITERALSOUP.
Yeah.
I usually hang out on Twitter, and I'm around, I guess.
You're
I
around?
sort of exist when I'm not drowning in school,
Yeah.
because I need to study on how to read texts so that I can come back and be like, hey, did you know that anime?
Did you know this anime is a text?
That's what I'm doing. If I'm on a place, it's at Literal Soup.
Okay. He just open up a can of soup. There he is.
Listen, I'm at Soup. Have I told you that that's my dream? One day I will be recognized as at Soup.
I want it. I want you to be the meme.
I am the meme. You can actually find me on Mastodon at dice.camp at Soup, because you know
God.
I'm living my best life.
All right, cool. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for our first episode of the Atcast. I hope we'll see you again next time for more weeb talk, anime talk, game talk. We'll probably be talking about the new season of anime coming out next time.
Goodbye. I'm waving, but
Goodbye.
I'm waving, but you can't see it.
Oh, the soup is waving at you guys. Just wave back.